Hello everybody. Today we'll begin Phoenix Journal number 27. And you can find this under phoenixarchives.com. And we're going to be going over the laws of God, and this will be number 9 out of 18. Alright, let's get into it. You must not steal, materially or emotionally. This law does mean literally that you must not steal. Defined as to take another's property, etc., dishonestly, especially in secret manner, to take slyly as a look, to gain insidiously or artfully, as he stole her heart. And this law also means you must not steal the trust and good faith of another by lying to them about your true motives and intent. You see, malicious lying and stealing are opposite sides of the same coin. Here are some examples of various forms of lying and stealing. If a man falsely tells a woman who is a virgin that he loves her and wants to marry her, but all he really wants from her is a sexual encounter, he is misleading her. If she in good faith falls in love with him and also falls for the trap of his false promise to her and succumbs to his pressure to express their love physically before the marriage vow is made, and then he abandons her, he has essentially stolen her heart, her innocence, and her chastity for his own lustful, selfish intent. Even if the woman wisely refuses his sexual advances, she finds herself rejected by him. He is still guilty of lying to her, which is stealing from her emotionally. The big difference in these two scenarios is that although she has been robbed emotionally, at least she doesn't have the guilt of dishonoring herself by breaking the laws of God and giving away her chastity to an unworthy man. Here's another example of stealing the innocence of another. Innocence is defined as, number 1, free from sin, evil, not guilty of a specific crime, 2, harmless, 3, knowing no evil, 4, without guile or cunning, 5, an innocent person as a child. Now stealing in itself is a sin against God's law upon only the one who steals. But when one succeeds in stealing the innocence of another, what he has essentially done is willfully and blatantly lied to them. So thus he has enticed and manipulated the other to also break the laws of God and the creation. So in order for the innocence to be stolen from another, the person stealing must be doing so knowingly and blatantly, with the intent of manipulating another to fulfill his own selfish means, and the victim has to guilelessly trust the person. For example, the leader of a country sends the young men off to war, which also involves murder, in a faraway place, and tells them, "You are fighting for freedom and defending your country." And they believe this lie. So they go to the war and realize in horror that they are slaughtering innocent people and protecting and defending wealthy sheiks in their oil fields and money, not defending their country's freedom. This is when their innocence has been stolen from them, when they realize that they have been lied to and used by the ones they trusted to perpetrate evil. Another example, say you are a child and you discover that your father has a girlfriend on the side. That is adultery, friends. When you face him with this, he tells you that you must promise him you will not tell your mother. He still loves her and doesn't want to hurt her and the family, etc. If you tell her, she will divorce him, and. Well, as a child, you are devastated in your heart because your father has asked you to lie. But you promised him, and so somehow it would be your fault if you told your mother, and you certainly don't want to cause your parents to divorce. This is emotional blackmail, and the father has stolen the innocence of his own child by making her promise to lie and make her feel responsible for his irresponsible behavior, for what could happen if she told her mother the truth. Another perhaps more repugnant example, any adult man or woman who willfully indulges in the lustful coercion or manipulation of a child who trusts him or her to perform any form of sexual activities has most definitely stolen the innocence of that poor child. Here's another example to close the hearts of Americans. For your forefathers of the wondrous United States of America were inspired by God in the development of the most sacred Constitution and Bill of Rights, in order to maintain peace and balance and allow you freedom in the pursuit of happiness. Although not perfect, with the addition of certain amendments abolishing slavery, for example, it became the most important and a protective set of standards for human rights, decency, and freedom in your current history on earth. Now, every person you elect in the office of leadership, such as the presidency, vice presidency, Congress, and the Senate, has taken an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. You, the people, have elected these leaders on the trust and good faith that they will honor your Constitution and Bill of Rights. You now have a president and a Congress who mostly support him, who has essentially nullified this U.S. Constitution by his executive orders, in order to pursue the one world order, which has a new so-called Constitution for one world domination. This is called stealing your freedom, America, and making you slaves. Are those so-called elected leaders who support this infringement on your U.S. Constitution honoring the oath they gave to you and to God? They are stealing your freedom, and worse than that, they are taking an oath that they know they will not honor. That is called lying to you, the people, for their own selfish means. Please do not confuse the ones who act by willful guile and deceit and stealing the innocence or possessions of others with the ones who truly believe a lie to be the truth, and then pass on their false belief to another or others, for example, their children or students. This is simple ignorance of truth. And although it may or may not be acceptable to God, ignorance is not a willful act of stealing the innocence of another. Here is something else that is very important to remember and understand clearly. If one tells what he knows to be a lie in true self-defense, privacy, or for the defense, privacy, protection of another, this is not against God's laws. This does not mean lying to maliciously deceive about evil secret oaths or activities such as the evil cults of Freemasonry. This is one way the Antichrist twists God's laws to condemn others, by one's telling you must never lie, which means to make a statement which one knows to be false, that which is intended to produce a false impression. You can literally be made the tool for the harm or destruction of yourself or another. Let's give you some examples to think about. Let's say it is World War II, and in the compassion you are hiding a Japanese-American family in your basement to protect them from being put in the camps. So the police come to your door and ask you if you have seen or know any Japanese people. Are you going to tell them the truth, knowing it will endanger your family as well as the ones you are protecting? I wouldn't. Next example. Let's say you go to war and are captured by the enemy. They require you to appear on the television and make a statement to your leaders, which you know is false. But if you do not, they will kill you. Are you going to do what they ask? More than likely, you should. Here's an example given several times by Hatton. Let's say our beloved Jesus Christ, Sananda, comes to your home and the authorities come looking for him. And you know it is because his persecutors do not want him free and alive. Are you going to tell him where he is? Most of you would hope would say no. But law's law, is it not? We will give one more example, which may become reality for many. This is important. Let's say your government institutes a draft for this next war that may or may not be coming up. Requirement. Well, your son, father, or friend refuses to sign up for the draft and decides to become a conscious objector. Now, if the authorities call you and ask you where this person is, will you tell them? I sure hope not, because I'll be right there with them. Now, when it gets a little sticky with God is when, for example, you witness a murder. You know the murderer, and because of your fear of being a witness and perhaps threatened yourself, you lie to the police and tell them you saw nothing. think carefully about this, because there are crimes committed daily against God's laws of balance, of which there are witnesses who are too afraid to tell the police. The criminal remains free to continue his crimes against God. Remember, you must understand the difference. We are not talking about witnessing the breaking of man-made laws, which may or may not be just, and change continually with the times. We are talking about the breaking of God's laws, which do not change and are eternally the laws of balance within the creation and what you're going through right now. You also have something called little white lie, defined as a false statement made with the intent of being polite or kind. This is also called the social lie. Now, most of you ones do choose politely lie to retain your privacy. This is one way, but there are ways to not lie and retain your privacy as well. For example, if someone asks you how much money you make or what you do with your time, you have several ways to respond. You can lie, or a considered direct but harsh response is, "This is none of your business." But for those of you who wish to honor yourself and be polite to the other, you can say simply, "Please do not be offended, but I prefer not to answer that question, as it does not concern you." There are situations which do fit the criteria of the white or polite lie. Although many of you ones do try to stretch the limits of the criteria, the key here is intent. Oftentimes, rather than honoring your true feelings, you will hide behind the white lie in order to keep your job. For instance, if you perceive your employer to be narrow-minded and tyrannical, and you are afraid that by being honest and direct with your ideas and feelings, you will be fired. You see, you perpetrate the perceived tyranny against yourself by being polite and allowing it to continue. An example of a truly polite lie is this. When you know your mother spent hours preparing a meal for you, you do not like the ham, and she asks you how you like her meal, and you say, "It is excellent." Although it is not exactly a true statement, your true intent in kindness and appreciation is to honor what you know to be her feelings of love for you. So if you lie and your intent is to manipulate someone in order to selfishly achieve or receive something from them you desire, rather than acting with integrity of being direct, this is not a white lie. Remember this. You can lie to yourself or to another, but you cannot ever lie to God. You see, God always monitors and records your true intent in all situations He presents to you. And that is all for law number 9.